weather enthusiasts. I'm your host, Pat's Path Predictor. Let's get right into the weather. We had some technical difficulties to start with today, so I do want to first and foremost apologize for those. So before we go ahead and get started, though, we're going to go ahead and do our typical introductions. We have, from our tropical team on Storms United, we have Blue on the line. Blue, say what's up.
Heyo.
All right, we have Daniel or Daniel. I'm not sure how you want to pronounce that, but we have him on the line.
Hi, and you can call me either.
All right, we have Tristan as well, who's been an absolute legend the last stream. So shout out to him for that. Tristan, say hello.
Hello, everybody.
And we have Tyler on the line, who's also going to be helping us. This is his first stream. Tyler, say what's up.
Hello, everyone.
All right, so now that all the technical difficulties are aside, let's go ahead and get right into the weather. So here's our situation we have right here. Let me go ahead and do that real quick.
I do have all the latest information from every website, so if you want me to go for it, I can.
Yeah, go ahead and let me know. I'm resetting a couple of things very quickly, so that way we can enhance a few things. All right, there we go. That's a lot better. So that's what we have going on right here. This is the show we have going on in the tropics right now. We have Hurricane Lee that is currently barreling towards not exactly Massachusetts, but towards New England, towards Atlantic Canada, towards New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, the Halifax area. We have Lee out here. We have Margot bringing some impacts to the Azores Islands over here. We now have Tropical Depression 15 that is recently formed as of this morning in the tropics right now. We have a new area of interest that is expected to come off the coast of Africa in the next few days, and much, much more, both tropical and non-tropical news-related topics for today. So let's go ahead and start with the tropics, and we'll start with Hurricane Lee, since that's the biggest threat to land as of right now. Here is Hurricane Lee.
I do have the latest information on Lee from every website.
All right, go ahead.
I got Canada Weather Prediction Center and the National Hurricane Center. So for Canada, we got multiple areas of alerts for parts of Nova Scotia, parts of eastern New Brunswick, going into south of St. George's, going into parts of Cheverly, parts of Anticosta, and then parts of Blonde. Let me see.
Close enough.
Yeah,
All
so we
right.
got some rainfall warnings for the potential of heavy rainfall. Watch for possible washouts near rivers, creeks, and of course we got the hurricane watches and hurricane warnings from the National Hurricane Center.
Yep.
A hurricane watch remains in effect for parts-only areas of Canada now. Maine has officially been canceled out of the hurricane watch due to an eastern trend. Tropical storm warnings continue for parts of the coast of Massachusetts, Rhode Island, going into New Hampshire, and going into Maine, going all the way to the parts of Canada with a hurricane watch. And then now for the northern areas of New Brunswick, we got a tropical storm watch in effect. This system will actually now remain tropical all the way to landfall, and due to new recon evidence, which we will discuss a little bit later,
We have it pulled up right now.
This system may sustain a hurricane. Pat, if you want a quick look at the recon data that we got earlier today,
Yep.
you can go ahead.
Yeah, is this from Flight 37 over here?
Flight 37. Is it the last one that was finished?
Yep. All right.
That is the latest information.
All right,
From
perfect.
recon.
Thank you
That's all
very
we got.
much. We're looking at the recon data right now. We have flight level winds around 80 knots or so. We have SFMR values around 80 as well, which is pretty interesting. That's a pretty linear system going into this. If we go ahead and show you some drops in data right here, it's kind of muffled up because the structure has lost a lot of its luster since the last time we streamed about Hurricane Lee. But there is some evidence of a potential Category 1 hurricane, potentially up to 85 miles per hour. Tristan, if you want to go ahead and talk about that, go right ahead.
I will.
The recon data, it looks like baroclinic forcing combined with the front, combined with the jet stream, did actually support the storm. Even though there was dry air in the storm, one of the chat members earlier today said the area where I would be, actually warmed up by 2 degrees, which showed me that the Gulf Stream did actually provide a little bit more strength, even with the ex-tropical transition potential. Real quick, I do want to mention, turn around and don't drown. We do have a slight risk of flash flooding for parts of the eastern parts of Maine. And of course, we got rainfall warnings, which are technically flash flood watches in U.S. type warning for parts of eastern Canada. Even though this system is going to move pretty quickly, especially for areas of Canada, decent amount of flash flooding is possible. Now, thank Lord, if it moved more west, we would have had a worse situation because of the trough and the mountains creating lift with the tropical moisture of Lee. We would have actually had a very bad flash flooding issue in Massachusetts.
Yep.
Due to a few days ago, them have
Go ahead. Sorry.
burden. We are very thankful that
Okay, that's okay. Tristan, you're cutting out a bit. Okay. Anyone else want to say anything?
I wanted to say, really quick, firstly, hello, everyone. Secondly, I wanted to say, that, Lee is definitely a threat. Could make landfall. Certainly, it doesn't really matter if it's tropical or not at landfall. It'll still
No, it
carry
doesn't.
winds of 70, 75, 80 miles an hour. I mean, the details don't matter. Even 70 versus 75, I mean, you're only going to get the actual full effects of that on the coast, but it's going to be so large that you're still going to get tropical storm force gusts like well away from the center.
Yeah. That's in
Yeah,
fact, let's
and-
go ahead and show you the wind field. Actually, if we go ahead and
Yeah,
do
in
that.
fact, there's some tropical storm force winds in Massachusetts right
Yeah.
now.
Yep.
I pronounced that
Already.
horribly, but
just out. Rhode Island is just outside of that, which is pretty interesting. Tropical storm warnings in effect from the Massachusetts-Rhode Island border all the way to the U.S.-Canadian border, and then for parts of New Brunswick and Nova Scotia. So, yeah, this is a very large system. Bermuda's still under a tropical storm warning. I reckon that's going to get discontinued in a bit. But, yeah, this has been a very interesting hurricane. This thing got up to Category 5 strength, and then it encountered a bunch of shear, weakened down to Cat 3. It was hoping to strengthen back, but the shear just would not let it. And then it just maintained Cat 3 intensity and then started turning, and now it's weakening, but as a much larger system. So, yeah. What do you guys think that's gonna do with when it comes to storm surge and all that stuff?
I think a larger system in this case means a higher surge, even though the winds might not be as high as normal. But it'll all depend on where it makes landfall and where and what the tide is at when it makes landfall.
and
Yeah.
I want to make the comparison real quick. This kind of reminds me of Fiona in a way, when it was going right for the same area, but a bit more to the east.
Yeah, it reminds me of Hurricane Larry too, back in 2021. Honestly, as well, because had a larger thing, it was moving faster as it was moving as it approached Newfoundland. It was actually the first hurricane that the Pat's Path Predictor channel ever covered. That's pretty crazy right there. So, yeah, it kind of reminds me of that as well because of the proximity to Nova Scotia and Canada and all that stuff, and kind of similar setup, except Lee was a Cat 5 at one point. Larry got up to Cat 3, but was able to maintain that intensity a lot longer. So, yeah, definitely a very interesting situation to take a look at right there. Anything else on Lee?
Well, I wanted to go back to firstly, I wanted to say that Larry's story is a little bit of a Pat's Path Predictor lore there. Secondly, but on a real note, Larry was actually the first hurricane to hit Newfoundland since I believe 2010.
Yep, since Igor in 2010.
JJ614 asks, "Is this the most active El Nino year yet?" I don't know if it. I mean, no, it's not because. But I'm trying because
Yeah,
Modoki
I'm trying to
El
think about
Niños
that, to be
exist.
honest.
Modoki El Ninos exist, but discounting those, I doubt. Even then, I doubt it. But if you
I am
include
doing
Modoki
my
El
research right
Ninos,
now.
Yeah.
it would, including Modoki El Ninos, I would 2004 would clear.
Yeah.
Modoki El Ninos are basically El Ninos that act like La Ninas. That's just the best way to describe it. That's easy to understand.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. What is the expected storm surge in the Bay of Fundy? Is there a charter graph for that? We don't. The NHC, unfortunately, I don't
No,
have
they
that.
actually didn't. So
No, I don't
either.
think so.
And I'm thinking this is what's going to happen. I think the Canada coastline is actually so used to surge that they might not get as much surge. Maybe that's why the NHC didn't do a graphic because they know the terrain of that
No,
coastline.
they don't do graphics for areas outside
Canada?
of the
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me see if there is a tropical statement on that because I got Canada information right here.
All right.
They hold on, let me see. Surge in waves for 15 to 20 feet in the open ocean. Water levels up to 5 feet from high tide are possible. So let's say 3 to 5 feet of storm surge.
Yeah.
There we go.
All right. Now I have a new question. Do you think Lee will be a weaker 1938 New England hurricane? Most likely not. Primarily because of two reasons. First reason is because it's further to the east than it was with the New England hurricane. Second of all, by the time the New England hurricane made landfall in Long Island, it was a Cat 3. This is a Cat 1. So most likely not. And the second part of it was, could this shift west? No, most likely not, because there's a ridge
tiny
blocking it
shift
from going
west,
there.
maybe with the trough. If
Yeah.
the trough maybe goes a nudge west, but we're not expecting Sandy Hook west. No.
Yeah. Okay, we now have 60 viewers in the stream right now. Congratulations, you're watching Pat's Path Predictor live. Be sure to smash the like button, smash the subscribe button. Everyone's channel links are in the description down below. Be sure to check them out. And yeah, it's gonna be a very good stream so far. And share the stream with your friends so that way we can get more people engaged with weather. So with that being said, with anything else on Lee we want to talk about before we move on to our next subject?
Really quick, I just wanted to say,
Just
especially
because-
check out.
Go ahead, Blake.
I just wanted to say, especially check out our Discord server, and also Taniel's channel is in the description as well. Those are the main two I wanted to say because the others are kind of affiliated with us in a way.
Yep.
Or in the description, or not on the stream, one of the two.
Yeah.
And I will want to say something about Lee. A lot of people, and this is a mentality of everybody, and it does kind of make me angry because this can really hurt people faster. Just because a storm is weakening doesn't mean it won't affect you. Take every storm with respect and precaution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. Perfect for that. All right. Do we want to move on to our next subject for the time being, or do we want to stay on Lee? Tyler hasn't really said anything yet, so what do you think about all this?
I think, again, I already said this before, but this really reminds me of Fiona, and I don't know if it's going to have the same impact as what Fiona did, but this will still, like Blue said, will probably cause like some storm surge impacts, maybe some power outages, and we'll bring a lot of wind impacts, like especially of how large the wind field is, but it shouldn't be as severe because...
Yeah.
BRB real quick.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much for that. Okay, so with Lee bearing down on New England and Atlantic Canada right now, the most important thing to really say is that even a Cat 1, especially with especially in New England, can still cause a lot of damage, because New England, unlike Florida or North Carolina, is not really built for hurricanes. They're more built for winter weather and maybe severe weather if that happens very much. So a Cat 1 hurricane can still cause a lot of damage for that area right there. Primarily, and especially, like, a good example of this was Hurricane Irene back in 2011 that made landfall in North Carolina, kind of stayed off the coast. After that, from North Carolina to New Jersey, made landfall near New York City, and then just pushed straight north, causing a lot of flooding in Vermont, causing a lot of damage in association with that. So, Yeah, it's one of those
Flooding
things
is
that you don't really hear about too often.
And
yeah,
that's why I
flooding
was
is
very scared about a western push with that trough. I'm so happy it moved east. It could
Yep.
have done the same thing easily like that,
Yep.
especially with the
flooding is
recent flooding that happened.
All right.
flooding is always the main concern with tropical cyclones. You can get rainfall flooding, you can get surge flooding, you can get a combination of the two.
Yeah.
A horrible example, segue time, of the rainfall flooding that I hate to bring up. But those of you who follow weather in the past week or so know what I'm talking about in
Yeah.
North Africa.
Yeah. We know
Oh,
exactly
God.
what's
In
going on.
Libya and Greece.
Libya, Greece, and also adjacent to weather, just natural disasters, also Morocco with their earthquake.
Yep.
But Storm Daniel hit Libya and Greece, and in Libya, well, starting with Greece, it caused about 2 billion in euros in damage due to flooding. Thankfully, didn't kill too many there, about 20 or so, give or take.
Yeah.
But still killed some. But Libya.
Yeah.
Libya was
Yeah,
just
Libya.
horrific.
Yeah, what happened, for those of you who
It-
do not know, is Storm Daniel ended up approaching a pretty large city in Libya, a city of over 100,000 people. What's the name of that? What's the name of that town again? I
Burn
always.
Libya, and it was wiped off the map pretty much.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah. Thousands have been confirmed. Unfortunately, dead. My thoughts, hearts,
Over
and prayers go
10,000.
out to all those who've
Over
been affected.
10,000 people dead.
Over
How
10,
many?
over 11,000 actually. Over
Yeah.
11,000 dead.
Yeah, my heart, thoughts, and prayers go out to all those who were recently affected by the absolute catastrophe that's been going on in Libya. I know the civil war hasn't been helping with what's going on. Then this makes matters worse. So
Yes.
What makes it
Yeah.
worse with this system is that this system, if the death code keeps going higher, this is why I say flooding is always a scary thing. It might rival Hurricane Mitch. It was a 5.
how
It
many?
was already.
I think,
It was.
Terrifying.
It already does rival Mitch.
yeah, it already does.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
Let me check.
yeah, but
mean,
there's already
Mitch-
been more deaths related to this
It killed
than
more
the
than
Galveston
Mitch
hurricane
officially.
back in 1900. Just to put that in perspective.
Yeah, Mitch killed less people than this thing. It's official now.
Yeah,
Oh, dear.
like, this, for those of you who don't know what exactly I'm talking about right here, Storm Daniel that hit Libya basically surpassed the amount of deaths that the 1900 Galveston hurricane inflicted upon the people of Galveston, which is around 8,000 people. And this was back in 1900. They had no idea this was coming back then. So it
yeah.
really goes to show, a lot, it's
Okay, I'm going to interrupt you real quick
What's
there, because it's true they didn't know back then, but in a way, the people of Libya didn't know either in this
Of course.
case, and here's why.
yeah, of course.
Here's why, and this is going to be a little mini rant. They didn't have a regional warning agency, and so there were no organized warnings or warning systems until it was too late
Yeah,
to say, "Hey, get out of there."
yeah,
So this is just a PSA. Be weather aware at all times, but also to if you're somehow anyone from like a weather agency in Europe is watching, if you are, hi. But secondly, please get together with some other countries and just please organize a regional warning center for these tropical cyclones in the Mediterranean Sea. Also the South Atlantic, although Brazil unofficially serves that purpose. But we don't want or need these cyclones to kill 10,000 plus. This is already the deadliest cyclone since Cyclone Nargis of 2008, which killed over 100,000, by the way. I
Yep.
hope to God this doesn't kill that many.
yeah. That's
But the reason that killed this many is because 2 dams near the city of Derna failed catastrophically and just
yeah.
it's just
It
Yeah,
had
I
a year's
know.
worth of rainfall from one system.
Yeah, I know. It's yeah, I encourage that as well. Yeah, it's been a very tragic situation that's been going on in Libya, and that really it's the perfect example of how flooding can be. It can how flooding can just I have a loss of words at this point, but you
And
guys know what I mean.
why you don't ever want a tropical cyclone to come your way.
Like
Even a weak one can stall and cause a crap ton of rainfall flooding.
yeah,
Like I get it, I can kind of understand the mindset of wanting it to break a drought, but like it's a dangerous proposition.
yeah, it kind of is. All right, we got some. All right, so let's see. Yeah, okay. If you guys have any questions in the chat, feel free to ask. But yeah, we wanted to bring attention to that tonight because that's been an ongoing situation. And yes, we're also covering Lee. We're covering Tropical Depression 15. We're covering Margot. We're covering the new area of interest. But we also need to pay attention.
Someone said Tropical Storm Allison. I actually described the situation with Danielle in Libya as a worse version of Allison.
Oh yeah.
That's exactly correct.
Oh, absolutely, it is. Yeah. That's
Now, for our viewers that know El Nino, we're going to give you a little bit of a interesting thing. El Nino normally kills Caribbean development, but the Climate Prediction Center and, weirdly enough, the GFS model, which actually did very well with Lee, by the way, I want to say that, rare wind this year, both want a tropical system. And normally in a El Nino type year, I will look at that as a joke. But because this El Nino has acted like La Nina,
pretty much,
and
yeah.
has not really done its job, I am very scared for what will happen in the Gyre. October is the rapid intensification month. It is the month where storms in the Gyre love the pop. Michael, Wilma, multiple others. And the GFS can get gyre systems. Ida was a gyre system, and the GFS got it for 2 straight weeks, which is fantastic. So
Which
we
story are
really
we
need
talking
to watch
about?
trends with the gyre. Hurricane Ida, the GFS
Yep.
forecasted it 2 weeks out, and it stayed. So all we're going to say is if you're in the Gulf Coast, October is very scary for the
Oh,
gyre. Just watch it. Even in November, I would say watch it at this point because this has not done an El Nino job. For people worried real quick about TD15, it will likely go out to sea. I'm not really expecting that. Now, if you're in Bermuda, I know you've had a lot of trouble. You had how many systems now? Franklin, Adalia, Lee, and now potentially TD15. This is a Bermuda. Luckily, they've been getting tropical storm force winds the whole time, which they did get a few power outages, but that should be fixed pretty quickly because it's Bermuda. They know what they're doing.
Yeah.
But I'm very worried that this might be a major hurricane strike on Bermuda. Of course, depending on the system near the Azores, will depend how the high pressure in the Atlantic sets up, and that's where we're going to watch for Bermuda's sake.
Yeah, for sure. But there is also another area of interest that I am a bit concerned about. Tristan, we've been talking about this on Storms United. It's this AOI that was tagged by the NHC, 20% chance of formation in the next 7 days. You want to go ahead and talk about that real quickly because I think we should express why we're so concerned about this.
The reason why we're so concerned about that, and I want to do 2 points of view for this. The first point of view is that there is a cyclone. There is like a upper high pressure that is now over TD15, by the way, which might help its shear problem besides, the one near the Azores might struggle a bit. But this next wave, I am looking on satellite. It is super together. It has not teared apart. Now, normally when they get off the African coast, some of the thunderstorms, like the sudden collapse, and then this wave has to get used to the water. But this is a very strong tropical wave. What I'm very worried about is that this system may not do the normal, oh, it's just going to follow the Bermuda high. Remember, the weaker they stay, the more west they go.
Yeah.
And this system will be completely by itself. Almost every system will be gone by the time this wave forms, which means the Bermuda high can form back. We are very worried about the Caribbean and the Bahamas. Just because we say that doesn't mean they're going to get hit. That just means pay attention, because this wave could be a different story. Now, luckily, and I really hope this happens, but we all know it may not happen at this point. El Nino kind of murdered Lee a little bit. Not too much, but just enough. Let's see if El Nino tries to do that with this. My prediction, if it supports a gyre
Which
system,
storm are you talking about? The gyre?
both the African wave.
And
The
okay.
only thing that could counter it is maybe the El Nino, acting like El Nino for a small amount of time and shearing it. Kind of like what happened with Lee, in a way. But
yeah.
the point is that this next wave may be the actual one to be concerned for these areas. And not to mention, we have the gyre, which is not normally supposed to happen. In fact, Pat just pulled up a shear
Yep.
map, and
Yeah, I
there's
pulled it
no
up
shear in
right
the
here.
Caribbean. El
Yeah.
Nino, that will all be red.
Yeah.
So that is a very major issue. And the Climate Prediction Center, by the way, does actually support our viewpoint of a very good potential of tropical cyclone development both in the gyre area or in the southern Gulf of Mexico, and from the Cape Verde Islands all the way to very east of the Bahamas, going to north of Hispaniola. I would also like to say to the chat, please do not pre-name storms until they are officially named. That is actually against the weather rules. I just want to point that out. People may not know.
Yeah,
But the
that's
point
not.
is
That's
that-
fine, but still. Okay, I wanted to go ahead and pull up the shear here to kind of make a couple of points here. Actually, first one, when it comes to Lee and all that, the El Nino definitely had something to do with it with the shear, but it didn't like. This year has been pretty much a year of survival of the fittest, and even though we got a miracle with Lee and all that to some extent, we haven't really had that with other systems because, well, it all goes down to sea surface temperature anomalies. And what I mean by that is the average sea surface temperature anomalies, I think, in the Pacific Ocean, near off the coast of Peru, off the coast of Chile, I think they're like plus 2 to plus 3 degrees Celsius. The sea surface temperature anomalies in the Atlantic in a lot of areas are over plus 5 degrees Celsius. For those of you who do not know what the hell I just said, I'll put it in layman's terms. The Atlantic, the sea surface temperatures in the Atlantic are so warm that it's actually crushing the El Nino, and that's why we're getting an active season. Just to clear that up and get you guys to understand what I'm talking about. And this whole low shear pocket in the Caribbean Sea and Gulf of Mexico is particularly concerning to me, primarily because let's say we have a gyre or that tropical wave enters the Caribbean. If that holds, well, there's really nothing stopping it from getting into its way unless some dry air gets into it. But the Sahara dust has been really not that much of a deterrent over the last month. So that's my main concern. Sorry, what was that?
Typically, the dry air isn't as big an issue this time of year anyway.
No, it's not. Okay, we got 73 people in here. Be sure to like the stream, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Come join the Discord server, Storms United, if you want to come join us. Also, share this stream with a friend. Share the stream with anyone you want to, so that way we can get more people engaged with weather. Thank you very much for all the support you guys have been sending me so far. So, yeah.
I will say there's a comment that's very interesting. And I actually was doing some analysis earlier this year when the NHC figured out that Invest was a system. They said, I personally think 01L was a hurricane. And weirdly enough, it does look like it with a pressure of 976 millibars and an eye. Even though it's 65 miles an hour, with that baroclinic forcing, that was sort of part of a nor'easter, I can't discount that was a very brief hurricane. I really can't. one of the perfect examples of that. It kind of looked like the perfect storm, where you had the system all around, and then right in the center, you had a very small system with an eye. That's what it looked like. The January storm, yes.
All right.
So whoever said they think it's a hurricane, I don't blame you for that. I actually think they actually upgraded to 70 miles an hour, by the way, in their analysis.
Okay.
So it's very close to a hurricane and not a brief hurricane.
Okay. Anyway,
So, yeah.
while you were doing that, I was pulling up the Climate Prediction Center predictions right here that we were talking about earlier. Here's what we have for week 3 for September 27th to October 3rd. 2 large areas of potential development. The first one is in the Atlantic Basin, over here where my mouse is. The second one is over here in the Caribbean and Gulf of Mexico. So maybe a gyre gets off from there. We'll have to wait and see how that goes. But just to show you that what we're talking about, it's right there. So yeah, So next thing I want to talk about a little bit is really tropical. We kind of talked about TD15, but I want to talk. Is there anything other Tristan or Blue or anyone any subject you guys want to cover has in relation to do with what we were just talking about?
So the center relocation that happened may have helped the system, but also kind of messed it up. On one hand, it does have to organize a little bit slower, so the RI potential. Remember what we said earlier, this thing only has a limited amount of time because you have Adalia, Franklin's, and Lee's upwelling. But it does have an area, you showed in that shear map, there is sort of a upper high pressure above the system. So if it can really organize really quickly, which we are waiting for, and center relocations normally help that, then we might be able to get a hurricane. We don't even need a major hurricane for this system, by the way. We only need 2 more hurricanes by definition, and by data, we will be 100% average hurricane season.
For sure. All right, some guys in the chat were requesting that we pull up some model runs, so we're gonna go ahead and do that.
I got all of them for 15. Actually, I got all of them.
All right,
already ready.
All right, so which one do you want to pull? Which one do you want me to pull up first, Tristan?
HWRF, since it did an amazing job with Lee and Adalia. That's the one I trust the most.
The
right
H-Wharf?
Yes.
All right, we'll talk about Lee for a bit, but I was kind of referring to some of the operational models in the long term, but we'll start with Lee. Let's see if I can pull up the satellite on that to get a better view of this. All right, so what are you seeing here that is piquing your interest with the H-Wharf?
Not much. It's just doing exactly what it's gonna do. It strengthens a tiny bit. Actually, H-Wharf wanted it a tiny bit stronger, which interestingly enough, Recon did report pressure down a little bit. So I wonder if the H-Wharf is near verification or at verification, because recently with that last Recon data, it did kind of drop from 966 to 962. So that's very interesting that the H-Wharf also wanted a little bit of a stronger storm. And I think the model would have actually been 100% correct if not for another eyewall replacement cycle that happened right before Lee really moved to north. But I think the H-Wharf for Lee and for Adalia has done an amazing job. Even if it messes up a little bit on Canada, it's right next to landfall. It's not a big difference. The H-Wharf was the only one who predicted all the eyewall replacement cycles.
Okay.
It not getting to 180. It moving north and having all of that. I want to say to the people who made the H-Wharf, phenomenal model.
Right.
I've been using it for 5 years.
Okay, all right.
Amazing.
All right, but I think people are referring to more of the operational models, primarily because of the whole area of interest, Tropical Depression 15, and that gyre that's coming up. So now that we've gotten Lee out of the way, let's go ahead and start covering some of that. Which one of the operationals do you want to start with?
I actually have a lot of the intensity models for 15 only. I do not have any of the operations. But
I'm referring to the I'm referring to the European, GFS, NavGem, Icon, those ones. That's what I'm referring to.
Any of them. We can compare all of them and get a set of data. That's a good idea.
All right, let's start with the European then, since that one's the easiest in my opinion, and it's also been doing a decent job so far.
I'm referring to the.
What's going on?
I think someone might have cut out. I don't know because there was.
All right.
What happened?
Sorry, I've just been paying attention to chat.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. All right, let's go ahead and cover the European real quickly to give a better understanding. The European 12Z has Lee making landfall in Nova Scotia and then moving to New Brunswick. Has this tropical depression starting to organize and develop, strengthen into a tropical storm right here. At least for now, there has been a high pressure system that's kind of been a weak one building up around 1019 millibars. If it was 919, that would have been something interesting to take a look at. But
high that was 919.
Yeah, a high pressure at 919. That's a problem right there. But anyway, let's see this. So this weak high pressure right here kind of has this thing pushing it towards Bermuda a bit. Strengthens up to around a Category 1 hurricane, according to the European, in the next 5 days. Pressure of 993 millibars, which is pretty interesting, but at the same time, I find it somewhat understandable due to the expansion of the cold wake that Lee left behind. If we go ahead and show you the global sea temperatures that we can pull up right here, look at how much this has expanded right here. This was what Franklin left behind. Now Lee's really expanded upon that, especially due to all that upwelling and all that. So we'll have to continue to monitor that as time continues to progress. But guess what's untapped, guys? Guess what's completely untapped?
Caribbean.
The Caribbean, the Gulf of Mexico, and the western part of the main development region, the western half of it. That is still completely fair game. It is still completely untapped. Even the OHC map reflects that. And
I'd even argue the southern Gulf Stream, if you go up to, if someone wants to slam Charleston, South Carolina, is fairly untapped. If it does like a Dorian type track right over the Bahamas.
Yeah, let's hope that doesn't happen. But in the meantime, this new area of interest that's going to be organizing and developing in the main development region, potentially, the European hasn't exactly been picking up on it too much, but it has been picking up. Actually, I think... Hold up. I think this is the system they're talking about right here that comes off in like 4 to 5 days. Because if that's the case, then the NHC must be very confident that something's going to happen. Because, I mean, can anyone look at a satellite map, and figure out where that tropical wave is over Africa? In the meantime, while I'm looking at this,
it is in Western Africa right now. The wave is still very compact. It's not off the coast yet, but it is definitely staying together.
Is that the one we're looking at, or is it a different one?
That's the 20%.
Yes,
it is.
Okay. That's interesting because the European has apparently has another wave organizing and strengthening up to a hurricane at some point, about 240 hours out. So I thought I'd point that out very quickly. Next storm.
Wait, hold on.
Go ahead.
Let me see that run real quick. I want to see that other run also.
The European,
right?
Yeah.
Yep. Go to 240. I want to see something there.
All right.
So that's the new one. That's the new one. That's the wave. That is. Wait, let's see. Oh, that's another wave from Cape Verde.
Yep.
Oh, so Cape Verde might actually continue until October. Oh, dear.
Ugh. Yeah, we don't want to see that for sure.
Next GFS has also just started loading.
Yeah, the 18Z is starting to load, but we're not going to pay attention to that until more data comes out.
Yeah.
We're going to show the 12Z just to give some context. 12Z has basically the similar situation to the European with Lee. This new area of this new tropical depression 15 this thing has organizing and rapidly strengthening at a decent pace. Gets down to a 978 millibar system before it turns out to sea, while potentially bring a few impacts to Bermuda, but that's about it. And then we have a couple of areas of interest to really keep an eye on. The gyre, the GFS is still holding on to it. By the way, thought I'd let you guys know about that. And
I wouldn't be surprised if...
Yeah, the GFS, okay, I don't trust the GFS because they're having this thing stall over the Yucatan like 300 hours out as a Cat 1, which...
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what Adalia did, and even then that was interesting to say at the very least. And then we have another area of interest that organizes and develops, potentially approaches the Antilles, but then it moves out to sea like 300 plus hours out. So I'm not sure if the models are exactly picking up on this wave that we're looking at just yet, or if we're even looking at the right wave. We'll have to keep an eye on it for sure. That's what the GFS is showing. Next one we're showing you is the CMC, the Canadian, right here. Kind of funny because the Lee is heading for Canada right now. I'm sorry, that was a bad pun, but
Really?
yeah, it was a pretty bad pun. But yeah, CMC has this thing approaching the Atlantic Canada, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia. TD-15 is organizing and developing, stays further to the east than several of the other systems, gets down to a 982 millibar system before weakening, and then the CMC has another wave starting to organize and develop high pressure systems around 1023 and then 1028 off the coast of Maine over there. Definitely something to monitor as we continue to progress forward. Next one we're showing you is the NavGem 12Z, goes 180 hours out, has Lee making landfall near New Brunswick and Nova Scotia. Tropical Depression 15 is moving through, rapidly strengthening. The NavGem wants this down to a 958 millibar system before turning out to sea. So we'll have to keep an eye on it for sure. It's definitely possible as the NHC is calling for a Cat 3 at 5 days out. Apologize if I'm stuttering a bit too much, but yeah, then it gets down to 953 at its peak and then starts to weaken after that. NavGem also, it's not like none of these models are picking up on that wave that we were looking at, so that's interesting.
And the models must be underestimating the environment. Then that's scary.
That's a bit of a problem if that's true. And the icon.
Okay, here's the worst part: the models are even more terrible at locating the central point of a gyre system. So
Yeah.
imagine if they're not pointing at a gyre system. And I want to say this because people have been saying the GFS is on drugs. Well, then you're sort of saying the Climate Prediction Center is on drugs because the Climate Prediction Center has the same thing as the GFS, saying there is some chance of development in the Caribbean due to it being October, due to the El Nino not doing its job. The gyre will likely happen. It always happens in October and November. The question is when. Where's the low pressure located? Do the low pressures, if there's a group of them in the convection, do they fight for dominance? That's the questions you have to think about gyre systems, and we won't know until it actually happens.
Exactly.
But we have to watch trends. Models will change, but we have to watch the trends. That's how the gyre works. So just because one model run says it and then the next one doesn't mean that the next one can't say it, and then the next one. It's about trending, not assuming.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's pretty much the key takeaway we have with this. All right, so it is currently about 5:50 Eastern time right now. Things are we've covered pretty much 15. We've covered the area of interest, covered Lee. I mean, Margot, there's not really much to cover, to be honest, because it is going to potentially affect the Azore Islands right here. It's making a pretty nice loop-de-loop around. But yeah, that's what we have. Do any of you want to cover anything that we haven't covered yet here on the stream?
The earthquake. Yeah. I don't know much information about that actually. So if Blue or someone else wants to take away with that, they can go ahead.
I think Blue would be the best person to do that.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll do that here in a minute. I gotta deal with something real quick, so I'm gonna be on mute.
Oh, that's
Can I
fine.
say something really quick?
I will really quick
Okay.
say that the earthquake killed, as of right now, it's killed just under 3,000 people confirmed.
Yeah, that's not good at all. For those who don't know what we're talking about, there was a really powerful earthquake that hit Morocco a few days ago. We were hoping to also cover this on stream tonight. We haven't been able to this week. We've had a lot of scheduling conflicts, but we wanted to go ahead and briefly talk about that while we're here tonight. Yeah,
Any aftershocks recorded?
I have
way?
no idea.
Hang on,
We'll have to talk to Blue
aftershock.
about that. He knows a lot more than
Sure.
I do. Yeah.
Can I say something really quick?
What's up?
I'm looking at.
Sorry, I forgot to mute, but anyways, sorry if I'm disorganized.
It's okay.
Anyways, The Marrakesh Safi, and I will apologize for probably butchering that name to any of our viewers that might be Arabic or no Arabic.
Yeah.
But it occurred in central Morocco and has killed about 3,000 people, as I said, and that occurred literally a day or two before Cyclone Daniel then hit Libya and killed at least 11,000 as of right now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's been a very unfortunate situation in Morocco. What was the was it a 6 was it 6.9 or 6.4? I'm not 100% sure what it was.
6.8.
6.8.
It was 6.8 to 6.9.
Okay. All right. That's still a very powerful very powerful earthquake nevertheless. The most powerful I've seen since the Turkey earthquake just earlier this year killed tens of thousands.
It's the deadliest. I don't know that it's the strongest.
Wasn't it like a Mag 7 or something?
There was probably a Mag 7 over open ocean or rural Alaska.
Yeah.
Somewhere, I don't remember exactly, but I do think there was somewhere in the Mag 7 range.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's definitely the deadliest since the Turkey earthquake.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah, it's been a very eventful week, to say at the very least. So
I do want to say also that for people doubting that the Atlantic hurricane season is average, the ACE right now is 104.9.
Explain to them what that means.
That's a cumulative cyclone energy. So every 6 hours, the National Hurricane Center and the Climate Prediction Center, all those that predict the hurricane season, have multiple ways of saying, will this be an active season? Will this be a below average season? This will be above average season. And the way they do it, it's by cumulative cyclone energy, which is measuring. I don't know how to explain it. It's basically a math equation of how you calculate a cyclone's energy. And real quick, let me search.
Let's not talk too much about the math and talk about what it means.
It basically means how much energy has a hurricane season accumulated. I'll give some examples. Let's do the biggest ACE hurricane seasons here. So it's basically to calculate also how strong a storm is, because in 2020 you didn't have as much ACE as 2005
or 2017.
However,
I think
2017, those may have less storms, but they had longer living storms, unlike 2020, which a lot of them were spin up or short-lived storms.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So someone said 2023 is above average right now. It is actually average by 2023 numbers. I will check Stacker up with that just to make sure.
Well, at this point, we're about to get our 14th named storm, which would put us around the average range for named storms. And 15th. Then we've had Franklin, Adalia, we've had Lee now.
Alien?
Yeah, for major hurricanes.
I will also, the invest does count because they confirmed it. So even though it is the 14th name, it is the 15th tropical storm. And since 14 tropical storms are average, we are slightly above average now.
Yeah, we're slightly above average. Well, we're about to be slightly above average.
Thanks for the dono, Alex Baller, $4.99.
Oh,
please help me. I can't button broken.
To be fair, Alex, thank you for the dono, although I think it would have been smarter to maybe use that on getting the computer fixed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Elvin for sure. 15 storms and 14 names. So that's an interesting point I wanted to point out, is that I'm very surprised, especially since there weren't any storms before that system, why they didn't just put Arlene on that. And I bet everyone is asking why. I actually do not know. I don't know if the National Hurricane Center
I don't think they realized it was subtropical until postseason analysis. That's why.
Yes, until they said May, they finally realized.
Yeah.
So.
All right, what's up?
So I was looking at the aircraft recon, which I was waiting to say that for like 5
All right,
minutes.
Um,
all right, Spooky. What do you got for us?
he retro-
So
Sorry.
it's
No one
962
deleted.
millibars for Hurricane Lee
It says
measured.
message retracted, Alex Baller.
Oh, that was the last recon that we just talked about. The new
Retracted
recon.
means retracted means that you deleted it. For instance, let me just say something in chat and then
Also for
retract it
confirmation,
myself.
was
Oh God.
the earthquake was 6.8.
Someone else type real quick.
6.8 magnitude. That was a hurricane. That
During
was
this, I would also like to point out for some of the impacts of Lee, there is currently shelters that will be opening up soon later today in Nova Scotia. You want me to send that?
Yeah, I would think, shouldn't they already be open at this point?
Here.
Yeah, like
I'll send that in,
TS force winds are almost at Nova Scotia right now.
Let's see, if I remove mine, Alex Baller, it says message retracted. If I remove yours where you said I'm on phone, it says a message deleted by Blue on my end. View deleted message.
Yeah. Well,
so it must have been a glitch on your end or something that retracted it.
Well, either way, let's focus on the most important stuff.
And they'll be opening at Friday at 6 p.m. for the shelters.
Okay, so that's about 4 minutes or so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad they're doing that. I don't know how it's gonna go. I have no idea what the storm surge is gonna be like in Nova Scotia. I wish Canada would give us a map of what's going on. Tristan, do you have that access to that data or no?
I actually do, and I sent it on DX to you.
You send it?
Yes. So it is known as the Weather Information Environment Canada. It is an interactive map, and if you click on it, you can see the warnings and stuff.
All right, can you send that into Live No Mic so that way we can show the audience what's going on?
Yes.
I also sent the shelter locations there.
All right, perfect.
I honestly,
as for storm surge wise, I'm also unable to find any storm surge maps, but there is reports of high waves in Canada, especially Nova Scotia.
All right,
I sent it on the No Mic. If you look at it is called the Tropical Cyclone Information Statement for Lee.
Yeah,
it will show you all the threats as you scroll down and you can read through it. And it does have surge and waves, which is why I predicted 3 to 5 feet of surge along the coast, because they did say 5 feet at high tide.
Okay. All right. Thanks for sending that. Not sure exactly how how to navigate this, so I do apologize for that.
Click on the.
Go ahead.
Do you have the interactive map or do you have the information map?
I don't have either. Oh, okay. I have some sort of map going on. I just have weather alerts.
You just had it.
Can I say something really quick too?
Go down. Surge and waves. Go down.
Okay, what's going on?
All right, sorry to interrupt you guys. Just look at the reports. By the way, if you are living in Oak Bluffs,
Wait, what?
What?
Wait, it says I got exposed.
Oh boy.
You looked in my DM.
Pat, click on the red. If you click on the red on the map, it will show you everything.
All right. Click on the red.
On the map, the interactive map.
That's what I'm doing.
Did it work?
Let's see. 4 weather alerts, wind warning, rainfall warning.
Yes, and then there's tropical cyclone statement. Yeah, all the information, including the surge on it.
Okay, I'm looking through that. Surge. Okay, breaking waves. Okay. Storm surge of 5 feet expected for a lot of these areas. All right. That's.
So, sorry.
Thank you very much for helping me navigate through that. Yeah.
No problem. I know when I first saw the new website, it was cool, but also a little bit more tricky.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. All right.
Can I just go over something really quick?
Okay, go right ahead.
Sorry, I haven't been able to talk a lot, so I'm just trying to get things through. But anyways, if you're the station ID, I have it
Yeah,
on
I
my.
also want to point out for people
Okay,
in
let's
the...
okay, one at a time. Spooky, you go first.
The station ID for KACK.
I don't know Blue from
next
Rainbow
to
Friends, so like
Nan-
you saying
Nan-
that Blue got exposed, I'm thinking like, what did I do?
Nantucket here. They're currently
I'm
experiencing
talking
right
to
now.
that person in the chat. I'm
Sky
confused.
cover.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Spooky.
You guys can hear me, right?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. So, Sky Clever. So right now, what's the name again? Nantucket right now experiencing some tropical storm force winds. Sustained winds, 31 miles per hour. Gusts are up to 39-mile-per-hour gusts. Dew point around 57 degrees
I can't hear
Fahrenheit.
Spooky,
Visibility 10
okay.
miles.
It's
Scattered clouds with 63 degrees right there. So.
Yeah.
We're definitely looking at a wide majority here, around 21, 17, another 17, and Nantucket
Yeah.
only seeing at 31 miles per hour. So we're definitely seeing already that wind starting to pick up, and that's all I wanted to say.
All right, Tyler,
want
go
to
ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I thought it was silent there. But for you people in Nova Scotia, power crews will not be restoring power until the storm has passed, according to Nova Scotia Power.
Oh yeah.
That's a good.
It's too
good
unsafe
idea.
to do that.
Yeah.
Daniel, I know you wanted to speak real quick, so go ahead. I know you have WSB for you.
I wanted to mention that on my reports, Nantucket's already up to 43 miles per hour on gusts and 35 mile per hour sustained winds currently. So
Oh, we're getting
So
there.
tropical depression sustained with tropical storm force gusts.
yes.
Sorry, I was looking at Radar Omega, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, some things can be a
Yeah.
little longer.
I'm gonna check radar scope to see what's coming. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and switch to that screen a bit, but it's gonna be a bit difficult since these Canadian radars do not go as far out. So yeah. We already are seeing some outer bands starting to impact parts of Canada from this.
Wait, what? Wait, are you? Oh yeah, I see.
Yeah.
And I have a lucky website that Daniel knows I have. We use this for weather coverage. It does murder my ears, but I do get all the latest information. So let me see if there's anything concerning tropical storm force, anything on these reports here.
Also, I can confirm I've been periodically looking outside my window. As I live in kind of the central part of Rhode Island, my impacts are not going to be too bad, but they're, gonna feel something.
Well, next North Kingstown is experiencing 40-mile-per-hour gusts.
All right.
I would like to say so far that Boston has not reported any tropical storm force winds for the areas under the tropical storm warning. However, they are continuing it due to Lee having a larger wind field. So I would expect at least some 40 to 50 mile per hour gusts in the next few hours going into tonight, into early Saturday morning.
You guys know where Lynn is at, right? Next to Boston, Lynn, Massachusetts.
Yep.
That's where my dad lives at. He's saying that it's starting to get a little windy out. He actually just reported me. He just texted me about it, saying that it's really windy out, son. You might want to look at the weather. That's exactly what he just said. So
we're already doing that.
Yeah, that's what I said. I said, well, I'm on coverage right now. He said, oh, okay, good.
Yeah, that's
good.
He
sent me not a picture, but he sent me a text saying at least the weather news is saying warning winds up to 30 miles per hour right next to, not 30 miles per hour, sorry, 25 miles per hour right next to Lynn and Salem.
Yeah.
Rhode Island right now, Providence is at 20 miles per hour. Next to North Kingstown, 40 mile per hour gusts with 29 mile per hour sustained winds.
Right.
Yeah, I'm just south of Providence myself.
Yeah, just south of Providence. Sorry, I forgot to mention that.
So before people say Lee is all bad, Lee is doing one thing that will make everyone happy. Goodbye, summer temperatures. Thank you, Lee. I have to say that because it's true. Lee's the whole reason why we're in this fall pattern now. So if y'all didn't get affected by the storm, you should say thank you, Lee. Now for Canada and Maine, it's going to be like not again, but we all know.
That's I know, but still.
And even if they lose power, it's not like it's a heat wave.
Yeah.
So they might not mind it as much, but still, losing power does suck.
Yeah, I've lost,
might not mind
dude. I've lost power in the summer before. It absolutely sucks.
I've lost power.
So the fact that Lee is bringing that dry air, even if your power is gone, you still get air conditioning. You don't have to worry no more.
Well, maybe. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I lost power for 8 days after Ida during the summer, and it sucked.
Oof. Yeah.
I do want to bring attention to Lee's current trajectory here. At the current time being, Lee's main center is completely out of the cone of uncertainty.
It's moving a bit more to the east from that.
It's actually on some things I look at way more east than that.
Interesting.
So this could hit Halifax, right? This could directly hit Halifax at this point.
You know why?
It could actually miss.
Do you know why it's moving more east?
Coriolis?
Just guess. No, guess who's moving more east near the Azores, making that high go east? I see.
Margo,
I see. Yes. We all talked about this during the stream. What's Lee's fate dependent on? Her fate.
Yep.
So, and then the high should go a little bit more west as she does a loopy-loop. Yeah, she's doing a Nadine. She's trying to it.
She's doing a Jose 2017.
Yeah. Okay, we got a new question here. Can any of the waves reach the Caribbean? We're monitoring that. We're monitoring that for sure. We don't know just yet. We're going to have to wait and see how this whole thing plays out, but it's certainly a possibility, especially with this area of interest over here and maybe the gyre. Still something to monitor, but we'll keep an eye on it.
It's too far away. Just watch for trends. You should have gotten your hurricane supplies. Been ready, said June. So
yeah, for sure.
Hopefully you got your hurricane supplies. You know what to do. If you're in Florida, especially after Ian, you should know what to do. If a gyre system comes up.
Yeah, I went there to help fix homes after the Ian went through. Not fun. Not fun at all.
How bad was it down there?
The storm surge was what really just got a lot of stuff. I'm just being honest. Like, I've talked about this before, but storm surge is basically like it's the worst thing that can happen to your house because it can bring in a lot of mold. And flooding. But guess what? What it also does to the floors is.
Like, I remember you talking about this.
Yep.
With David.
Yeah, what it does to the floors is absolutely atrocious. I actually once you take out the flooring, there's that base flooring that the water gets into, and it expands so much and it rots that one step on that you fall right through the floor. That happened to me once. Thankfully, I didn't get hurt. It happened to one of my teammates quite a few times. He didn't get hurt too bad, thankfully. But it goes to show just how bad these things get. So,
and technically, if you don't fix the house, if all that mold fits, then technically if you fall over, that can actually cause infection if you get an injury.
Yeah. No kidding. No kidding. Okay.
Yeah.
So now that we got that on, I got all the latest intensity guidance for 15.
All right.
So we're going to start with my baby, basically, the H-Wharf. The H-Wharf does have rapid intensification somewhat, but then predicts an eye wall replacement cycle right near Bermuda, which is quite interesting. But then it does another lower pressure to 936 millibars. Now, given the conditions of the Atlantic, I do kind of think this is a little bit too high because it is right on Lee's and Franklin's cold wake. But if that repairs in time for some odd reason,
this gets down to 936. Dang.
Yeah, but remember, this might be a little bit too high because the H-Wharf has not accounted for the center relocation. This is still somewhat of an old run.
Yeah, for sure.
So the H-Mon, weirdly enough, The H1's more realistic. For the first time in a while, I have to go with the
Yeah,
H1.
I have to
It
agree
does
with the
have-
H-Mon. Yeah, it
It
gets
does
down
have
to
eye wall
956.
956. That's pretty reasonable. That's category 3. And
Yeah.
then the HAFS has also a category 3, a little bit, tiny bit stronger. 955,
952.
954, 954,
It
952.
gets
And
down to
then the
952.
HASB has 959, 955. So almost every model wants a Cat 3. But again, the H4 could be right. It could do a rapid intensification phase to get it to a low end.
We'll have to wait and see on that for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it could. So I think every model is basically mid-3 to a low-end 4. I think that's a very good consensus.
Yeah,
I don't see a lot of issues with that.
for sure.
Pretty
For
good.
sure.
We don't need another major, by the way. All we need is another 2 hurricanes normally. It will be completely average. So as long as it gets to a Cat 1, it's doing its job for the Atlantic.
Pretty much, yeah. We'll have to wait and see how that whole thing plays out. Yeah. Is there anything else we want to cover?
I just want to say, with like the change in direction, I do wonder if this is going to wobble back towards the west eventually.
Well, I don't know, to be honest with you. We'll have to keep an eye on
We don't
it.
know because of the front is pushing east, trying to push Lee, but the high is there. We don't know. It might just go straight north again.
Pat,
I don't think a lot of
if you look on the water vapor, not the RGB, but the
Yeah, I see it.
if you look behind it with all that dry air, that's another thing that's pushing Lee. It seems to be trying to wrap around and try to collect it, so it might start progressively pushing northward.
Yeah, I'm noticing that.
If it wraps up, and I've been looking at this for days. If it wraps up enough around it and starts doing what it's forecasted to do later, aka go down and start pushing storms a little westward, that could be
For
something.
sure. Yeah, for sure.
Now, I don't think it will have time to fully push this thing, but even a little wobble can mean hurricane force winds or non-hurricane.
Definitely
force.
something to monitor for sure. Yeah, it's
Even this jog east is the same thing.
all right. That's good. Okay. Well, I think we've pretty much covered everything that's going on in the tropics, unless you guys want to unless there's something else you guys want to bring up.
Could you go back to the Climate Prediction Center map real quick?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because I kind of just want to kill a little bit of time until the GFS is loaded a little more.
Yeah, well, yeah. Okay, let me see.
We could say for the newest model runs, I wouldn't mind that.
I'm sorry.
We can say for the newest model runs if we want to.
I just want to wait till the
GFS
GFS is out to like 200 hours or so.
Yeah, we'll wait till it gets about 8 days out to get a better understanding of what they're thinking. But let me go ahead and change
one thing I want to look at here is actually week 3, first in the CPS and the Climate Prediction Center.
Yep.
Thing. That you had pulled up for a second on your
yeah, I have
stream.
it right here. I was just getting the GFS
I'm
ready to
watching
go.
the stream. I say Climate Prediction Center, not GFS. But
I know.
Climate Prediction Center. They the main things I'm looking at actually are first off, they're actually both in week 3.
Yep.
Firstly, there's that gyre system, but also one thing I'm looking at is in the Westpac, there could be potentially major typhoon based on those percentages.
Yeah, that definitely looks a bit alarming if you ask me.
I wonder, Blue, do you know any? And I'm curious here. Let me see if I can find an MJO forecast, the Magellan-Julian Oscillation.
Yeah.
Let's see. So I want to get the data that would represent what I'm looking at.
Okay.
Is this it? I might have found it here.
All right.
Yep, I did.
All right. If you go ahead and send that into live no mic. So, yeah. All right. Did you just send it?
That's the picture.
Okay. You're gonna have to explain to our audience what this means.
I also got one more picture that you can put side by side because they both mean the same thing.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to explain this. The spaghetti plots are models. They are basically representing the MJO, which is the Madeley-Julian oscillation. Think of that as an oven. You're trying to bake a cake, but if you don't have the oven on, you won't get a cake, right?
Nope.
Even if you have all the right ingredients. Same
Nope.
thing for tropical cyclones. The Madeley-Julian oscillation is a source of lift in the atmosphere. It helps the warm water rise up, which turns into low pressures, the classic cluster of thunderstorms. And then if we see on the right, if you have also that green image there that shows the lift, that would also help too. So basically what that would do, that is your lift. And a lot of it, even though you see the Caribbean kind of go negative now for lift, which in a gyre situation kind of doesn't matter in a way. But we see at the 30th of September, there is a tiny bit of green near the Lesser Antilles, and the gyre is neutral. No complete lift or no complete sinking
All right.
air.
Okay. So what does that
is
mean for
sinking.
tropics?
That basically means if you're in the green or neutral, the neutral is basically depending on the system. But if it's green, especially when you see a lot around Africa, you can see where the Cape Verdes are coming from. That's lift. That is instability for low pressures, and that can create Cape Verde waves.
Okay.
Those Cape Verde waves, if they survive long enough, of course, become tropical cyclones.
Right.
The MJO is a lifting mechanism.
Yeah.
And basically, we got it all the way to the 30th of September, in Africa, and we start getting it in the gyre. And remember, Blue just said Climate Prediction Center also has it in the West Pacific. Look at the West Pacific.
Yep. I see
They
it. The
got green all
Look
day.
at the Philippines first of all.
Yeah. That's interesting. So that is why the Cape Verde waves have been suddenly so nicely compacted, because now we have lifting mechanism, which, by the way, again, shouldn't be happening in an El Nino. We should be sinking air.
That's what you get when you have 5+ degrees Celsius temperature anomalies in the Atlantic.
Exactly.
Okay.
I will also, and guess what the sinking air does also? Look where it's positioned. It's in position where the El Nino is. What does the El Nino do? Creates a lot of thunderstorm activity in the East Pacific, which
Yep.
provides shear to the Caribbean and the Atlantic. If that is sinking air and the Atlantic is rising air, who wins in that situation?
The rising
The
air.
Atlantic Basin.
Yep.
Yes. So basically, all model forecasts say, even starting in October, we're going to have to watch the tropics, which actually my forecast was for October to end it. So clearly the tropics want to try to do something else.
We'll have to wait and see how that plays out, especially for October. We still have the second half of September to go through before we even get to that point. And even then, we still have a very active period that may start ramping up. We're not 100% sure. We have TD15, new area of interest. Maybe the gyre starts to initiate. The GFS is starting to pick up on it a little bit. We're out to 168 hours, so yeah. Well,
I would love to see that model, by the way. Let me look at myself
Really
too.
quick, I just want to say, Pat, check your DMs when you get a chance.
sure.
Probably don't leak them, but yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
That's the moisture protector.
because you're
There is
live on
moisture
stream,
there.
LOL.
All right. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's what you want to see with a gyre. If you do the motion on the GFS and you look at the Caribbean, there's all the low pressure systems the GFS is looking at.
Yep.
Those are the low pressures potentially fighting for convection. That's exactly what you want to see to activate a gyre.
Yeah, that's also what you don't want to see if you want to see initiation. If you don't want to see initiation.
You know what's scary about that?
What?
Since the forecast from the NHC is 7 days out, which is 168 hours,
Yep.
that basically means the models are not playing bull. They're actually looking at a potential gyre setup. Does it develop anything? Depends on what the MJO does at that point.
Yep.
But this ties in perfectly with a little bit more rising motion with Cape Verde too. So it makes perfect sense.
All right.
So the GFS may not actually be on dredge this time, which is rare for me to say.
You're saying they might be onto something.
Maybe. But again, watch for trends. Don't assume now.
All right.
The gyre. Recon is actually getting very close to Lee also, speaking of the Recon is very close to Lee at this point. Yes, see, at 174 hours, it has a tropical system maybe near the Bahamas, trying, and the gyre. Oh, that's interesting.
That we'll have to wait and see on that because I don't trust the Bahamas at that point. And if it's starting to develop 156 hours out, I'm taking it with a grain of salt because, again, from the GFS, they don't use the proper gridding. Other models do, but you never know.
You never know. Also, real quick, since we are talking about weather, I do want to bring this up real quick. We do not want to forget our friends in the Midwest.
Yep.
We do not want to forget them. So, real quick, I do want to take some time before Recon starts entering Lee. We do have a slight risk of severe weather for parts of eastern New Mexico, going into west central and western Texas.
Yep.
The conditions are a spin-up tornado or two for eastern New Mexico and parts of central west Texas and west Texas, including Midland, Odessa, West Odessa, Hobbs, and Clovis. The wind potential, isolated, but a lot larger in the moderate risk, but the hail potential is the slight risk that we're concerned with some large hail. And because it is that area, I would even say maybe an isolated 2+ inch hail because, well, it's Del Rio, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
Del Rio. If y'all have seen random hailstorms for Del Rio, you know they pop off for no reason.
Yeah,
It feels
for
like.
sure. For sure.
And then there's also speaking of that, there's also some severe thunderstorm warnings east of Fort Stockton.
All right.
Texas.
That's interesting. Okay, that's
Very
interesting for sure. All right,
I
well,
just didn't want to forget our friends out
No.
west. Let me see if they have a flooding risk real quick. They actually do. From the Mexico-Texas border all the way to central Texas, there is a slight risk of flooding also for that area today. Of course, we all know the flooding shifts suddenly to Maine with Lee. Potentially, it all depends on how east Lee moves. Daniel did say it's kind of moving a bit east, so we'll see. But there is a slight risk of flooding for Maine. Before today, while Lee approaches, it is parts for Texas that will get some isolated flooding problems today. You just didn't want to forget our friends out west.
all right. Okay. Well, in the meantime, let's see what's... Okay, so we're up to 186 hours for the GFS.
That's probably far enough out, to be fair.
Yeah,
Oh my
100
god!
180 hours out, they're showing a low pressure system.
Where?
Off the near Nicaragua.
That's in the East Pacific, but there's a spin. There's a spin north of the Bahamas.
There's also, it looks like a spin north of, just north of Nicaragua, actually.
Well, if the subtropical system forms, that might delay the gyre, but actually you kind of don't want to delay the gyre because it's not this time period where, let me see. Yes, it's not this time period when the gyre really gets favorable.
Yeah.
It's around September 30th. Remember, we were seeing the greens. We were seeing the uplift of the MJO.
Yeah.
That's when a gyre really can potentially get active.
For sure.
So I don't think that that's just an extra name if that forms. By the way.
Yeah, for sure.
That's just an extra name.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay, Cat's
Hi.
in here. Well,
Hi.
yeah, we've just been
Hello.
doing a nice little tropical discussion in here. So, all right.
Sorry, I'm a little late to the party.
Yeah, you're okay. You're okay. In the
You're
meantime,
okay. We
yeah.
still have some smoothies for you. Still have
Yeah.
some crackers, still have some chips.
yeah.
What?
Okay. In the meantime, while we wait for more of the GFS to come out, I actually do want to make an announcement. And I haven't even talked to my tropical team on Storms United or made this announcement to Storms United yet, but I am actually in talks with a potential sponsor for Pat's Path Predictor. I'm not going to mention who because we haven't worked out all the details yet, but we are looking at a potential sponsor for the Pat's Path Predictor channel. So I wanted to let you guys know that that's in the works, and you will probably know whether or not this whole thing works out in the next few days. So all I can say is there's no one to really thank for this but you guys, because if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be in this situation where I'm in talks with some people about this. So thank you very much for everything you've done for the channel. Really means a lot to both me and our tropical team at Storms United. So just wanted to say that very quickly before we continue on. But now the GFS, we're up to 198 hours out. What do you guys think about this?
And I just wanted to say thank you, everyone, and congratulations to you, Pat.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
I'm
Again, I'm not
Trust
naming any
me.
names because we
Yeah.
haven't worked out the details yet, but we're getting very close.
There's a lot. That
Raid
doesn't
Shadow
make
Legends.
any sense.
Raid Shadow Legends. No, I'm just kidding.
Raid Shadow Legends.
No.
NordVPN.
Why?
No, but
no,
seriously,
no,
I'm
no,
not
no.
trusting the GFS. I think the GFS is really underplaying the environment, and I'm gonna tell you why. The fact that the MJO is showing a lot of lift, and I'm only seeing a subtropical there, doesn't make me comfortable.
All right.
It doesn't. That's such a big difference. The models want a lot of lift,
Yep.
but the models are just like, the storms are just gonna get drunk and not form. It's fine. And
Yeah.
I'm like, no, that's not how it works. I will say the GFS is really trending on the Bahamas subtropical storm out of everything.
Yeah, I don't trust that at all. In my opinion, I don't trust
Actually,
it.
that's
Excuse me.
actually possible.
Subtropical?
Yes.
Yeah.
First
for
of all,
sure.
it would be tropical. There.
Oh, oops. It doesn't look so subtropical, though, if you look at the moisture.
Yeah.
It
It
could
looks
be one of the
subtropical.
off to one side storms, more of a potential.
Yes,
tropical
it's just a sad one.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So with the GFS coming out, and we're at about 198 hours out. Is with all
With
I
the
think.
GFS being sad.
Yeah, I think we've
basically.
covered a lot of stuff tonight. You guys want to cover anything else?
I've been looking
I
at.
am. We are waiting for recon, actually. Wait, the Euro has the sub. What? Euro GFS agree?
What's
No.
going on?
They both agree on the Bahamas.
Let me see this.
What a
Let me
joke.
see the
This
European.
is 12.
Oh, I see that.
12.
Oh, I see that. That's. I'm going to be blunt with you guys. I'm not paying too much attention to that right now, primarily because this is like 5+ days out. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's still hilarious.
Yeah.
I would love to say that is hilarious.
Take your
If that
screenshots
actually
now while you
forms,
still
that would
can.
be interesting.
Yeah.
That would be very.
Oh, we'll keep an
Yeah,
eye
don't
on it,
take
but that's. For now, I'm not paying
That's
too much
so
focus
random.
on it.
That's so random.
Yeah. All right. So. All right. for those of you who are still tuned in, if you guys have any questions for us, please feel free to type it into the chat. Unless we have something, unless we have the tropical team wants to cover something else, we're gonna start wrapping up in a few minutes.
Do not ask for the tropical system, please. I'm not. I don't want to laugh at it.
All right.
Okay, can I say something real quick?
In a second, who wanted to say who wanted to say something first?
I did.
All right, Tyler, go ahead.
I'm just been monitoring the impacts of Lee right now, and not much is happening since it's still far off of land right now. But I do want to say that fortunately that people are preparing for this. A lot of people are.
They should have probably prepared yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I do see some stuff yesterday of them preparing.
That's
and
true.
then there's also more higher waves across from New Jersey to Nova Scotia, which is obviously going to get worse.
Also, I'm noticing
All right,
on
I
the
am back.
GFS, it's looking like something I wanted to note. There's a low over at 210 hours that looks pretty potent over the Central Plains, northern Central Plains.
Oh, that's looking like a severe weather outbreak right there.
Yeah. I was about to say.
Don't worry. The subtropical system will kill the high pressure flow.
Yeah. But anyway, all right, let's see if we have any more questions in the chat.
I was going to say something. Due to the
Go
fact that my arrival was very delayed, I don't know if y'all mentioned anything about this, but soon-to-be Nigel formed earlier today, and they're forecasting that to
We
go
already
major.
talked about that.
Yeah.
They actually
No,
downgraded
because I
the
just got
strength.
here.
Yeah.
Kat, they downgraded the strength a tiny bit due to a center relocation that was needed due to shear by the system in the Azores.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
yeah, it's basically having a Lee moment.
pretty much.
Though. That's early in its life, though.
For sure. Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Yeah.
Here's my question. The system has actually gotten better in look while we were talking. If we want to go to infrared and look at the last scan, it looks a bit better than earlier.
Let's
wonder
take
if
a
it's just
closer
getting-
look at that real quick.
Yes, I would love to. That's
Yeah,
very interesting.
Okay,
It
that's
does look
interesting.
better.
Looks like we're getting some deep convection starting to fire up.
Diurnal cycle. Okay, so what I was saying, I was talking about this. I was actually checking data and stuff. I was thinking this thing will go tomorrow, named only because of the shear. See, that's the thing. It's more a few thunderstorms bubbling up. You can see the system trying to get together, but that shear from the outflow.
Okay, time out. Is it just me, or does the final frames of the Euro have a pretty large low pressure system hitting the UK from the potential remnants of Nigel?
It wouldn't surprise me. I've seen stupider things on models.
Yeah, I've seen that too.
Yeah. I will say,
Please,
Justin
by the way,
Wilson,
don't
that
preview,
would not
man,
be
because
that would be an
Please
extra
don't preview.
tropical cyclone, but it could be very powerful.
Oh
based on
yeah.
that.
Oh yeah.
please do not pre-name systems. And the reason why I say that is not because it's not likely to form,
I know.
but there have been situations where either another storm has taken the name before the net system could get a name, or like TD15 could literally just get El Nino'd and die. It could get L ratioed in the flash.
Pretty much, yeah. For sure.
Yeah. Sure.
Example of a storm getting a different name would be Ian, because that was supposed to be Hermione, but then Hermione decided to just up and form.
And then the eye curse continued.
I know the perfect example of that. Alpha and Beta of 2020.
Yep.
I was going to mention that.
Yeah. Man, Alpha. Speaking of Alpha, I'm still surprised to this day it spawned 2 wedge tornadoes in Portugal.
It's pretty crazy right there for sure. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, I think we've covered a lot tonight.
Sure did.
Yep. All right. Is there any other stuff we want to cover very quickly?
No.
Recon is going into Libya, but we haven't done it.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on it on privately in Storms United. But I guess we're going to go ahead and close the stream out right now. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Be sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you are new. It helps us out, helps us make more videos and streams like these. The goal of this channel is to get more people engaged with weather. Ladies and gentlemen, let's congratulate the Tropical team for their excellent work this stream. Thank you very much for coming on, guys.
No problem. Happy to
No
be
problem.
All right. And with that being said, have a wonderful night, guys. Stay safe.